Welcome to the Startup Grind.
Who's been to a startup grind? Awesome. Who has never been to a startup grind? Awesome. Who did not raise their hand? Awesome. All right. Well, before we get started with the startup grind, I want to introduce somebody that is very, very special. He is the chapter director for Startup Grind here in Bali, and it's because of him that I'm even here in Bali. My name is Leah Marie, and I'm facilitating his 30-day program that he has at his resort over at Vision Villas in Genyar. And he is also the owner of this beautiful beach club. Is it opening week? Is it here? The second week of this beautiful beach club. Can we give a huge round of applause for the staff and all their help today? Awesome, awesome. So the chapter director is Roger James Hamilton, and I'm really excited to introduce him and that he was able to bring us all to this beautiful location to have a startup grind and learn some amazing insights, both from him and the speaker that we have tonight. So we do have a rule. As I bring him up to the stage, we are to give a startup welcome. All right, now this just isn't any normal type of welcome, okay? So everybody get up. We're going to practice for a round, all right? So everybody stand up. All right, to start, stomp your feet. Get stomping your feet. And then clap your hands. All right, the hands in the air. Go, yay, Bali! Woo! All right, now that was pretty good. Now we're going to do it even louder as Roger James Hamilton comes to the stage. Roger, come on up and let's give him a big startup grind.
Welcome! Thank you. Have a seat, please, everyone. Okay, so I'm watching all the people over there looking over, saying, "What's happening? Come on over, join us." So first of all, I want to say a huge thank you to all the staff, to Simone, to the entire team that has put this place together. Are you guys enjoying this place? Yeah. Amazing, right? Really, really cool. Let's give them another big round of applause. Thank you very much, first of all. Secondly, we have been running the Startup Grinds up at our Vision Villas Resort. This is the first one we're actually running here, but we want to make this an ongoing thing. So everyone who is here, who is based in Bali, come back again. And for those of you who have traveled all the way here from another country, come back again. And the person who I'm going to invite up now, we're going to have a bit of a chat. You're going to have a chance to ask questions as well, is actually from Indonesia. And she has built a bank, which is a rural bank, Microfinance bank, which has won consistently, I think it's now 5 years, but she will tell us more, every year as the #1 microfinance bank in Indonesia. It has over $1 trillion in assets. It is doing incredible work, and it's actually the quality of the work it's doing, which I'm really interested in having a conversation about. So I'm going to be speaking to Tenny about her experience growing it. We're going to be talking about entrepreneurs. Then you're going to have a chance to ask some questions as well. So without further ado, the person I'm going to invite up, an entrepreneur herself, someone who's been out at Bali and at one of our programs, iLab, in the past also, together with Jason, her husband, is Tenny Canniff. Can we give Tenny a big round of applause, please?
Hola.
Hiya. Come grab a seat.
Exactly.
Come grab a seat, and we're going to start talking with a question about tattoos. So tell us about the tattoo on your wrist.
Yeah, I just show it off to you, Roger. But by the way, this is a Balinese character. So Jason and I, we got this right after we graduated iLab.
Which was how long ago? That was
back in October last year. October last year.
Yeah.
So of course we did the wealth profile, the wealth spectrum. And because we did the wealth profile, we figured out what our profile was. So mine, I'm a fire. And Jason is a wood. And that's why this is encrypted now in my wrist. It's a Balinese character. It says Geni, which literally means fire. So what I learned is that if you put something in this left wrist, it goes straight to your heart. And your heart kind of like distribute all the blood throughout your body, so I have fire all over my body now.
Cool is that?
And,
so you have a piece of Bali wherever you go now?
Exactly.
Yeah.
A little fun fact.
Okay.
Jason and I got married back in 3 months ago, so we're newlywed.
It was 3 months ago. Congratulations.
And we had a theme for our wedding, which was bonfire.
Oh, really?
It is a combination
The
of
wood
wood
and the fire.
and fire.
Nice.
It's our little thing to warm up and light up the world.
That's so cool. That's
Thank
awesome. That's awesome. So, so I want to talk about that whole idea of lighting up the world. I want to talk about what got you into the whole banking industry to begin with, and that kind of journey you've gone on. So, you want to share a little bit about how it all happened?
Yeah, I mean, we all know Indonesia is a huge country, right? I mean, it's huge. And then the downsides of that is that we know like the infrastructure, the development, and then everything is not equally distributed.
Yeah.
That includes the access to finance.
Yeah.
So we're not talking about the big cities like Jakarta or Bali or Surabaya. We're talking about people who live in remote areas, people who live in the middle of nowhere. No train access, no bus station or even. So these are middle low segment.
Yeah.
These are talented people. I mean, don't get me wrong, they are poor. I'm not happy to say that. They are poor, but they are talented. They have hard work ethic. And what they need is just a little bit of capital injection just to push them move forward, just to better off their quality of life and just like to send their kids to school and to buy the seed for their land as they are farmers. So that's where I want to contribute.
Are a lot of them the people you lend to? Are they mostly farmers, or are they a mix of the farmers and merchants, retailers?
Looking at my loan portfolio, it's actually trading is the highest portion. But this is the middle of trading, as in they have a stall in the market, or they went outside the bigger city to buy their stuff and then bring it back to the small city to sell it to their neighbors and this and that. That's sort of trading.
So what's the average average loan size that you give?
50 to 100, max the average around $100.
About $100?
Yeah.
And how long do they take that for?
We have the minimum is 1 million.
Okay.
Average is 10 million. Minimum 12 months.
12 months.
Yes.
So within 12 months, they would have paid the whole amount back. And is it a fairly high payback rate? I mean,
The payback is really good. That's good. So just to tell a story, that there are two kinds of this microloan. One is the productive one, which you give loans for like capital, working capital, or the other one is a payroll system, which is consumptive. I don't do consumptive.
Right.
So I do the working capital. So
normally when they're setting something up or they're getting,
So what we do, other than just giving them loans, as in financially supporting them, we also do technical assistance. So we also teach them how to do the simple accounting, how they can create a value.
So who does that? I'm like, do you have local reps that look after certain people, or do they nominate who gets to work with them? How does that work?
We have at the moment around 1,200 employees.
Yeah.
And we are operating in 7 different cities in Central Java. So
it's all in Central Java, right? That's
by regulation, as I mentioned. So these people, they go door to door because these our clients, they cannot leave their house, they cannot leave their market. So we go to them, and then on a regular basis, we check how they are doing financially and counting and this and that. Like. We try to be there, of course, like their partners. So we try to be the family's bank. Let's say we give loans for the father, for the working capital, and then we get in touch with the wives for the savings.
Right.
And then we get in touch with the children. We have the customer database, so we know when the kids are going to school. So we can come up to, hey, do you have money to send your kids to school? And like, it's very sustainable, very continuous.
Yeah. So do you find a lot after the year when they pay it back, they then take out another loan, or what?
Yeah. So they do get another loan. They have we have a really good customer base in terms of like their credit record. So they can apply for a bigger loan the second time, the third time. So
when we met a year ago, we talked about your personal brand and growing that, and then you gave me a card today, which, oh gosh, where did I put it? I think it's in with all my stuff in here somewhere.
So,
but you got it here somewhere.
In the meantime, like if you go into iLab, you will have a one-on-one session with Roger. So I was there, and when it was my turn, I told him, of course, how it was.
How it was.
How it was, and it's like, So Tenny, what are you doing? Oh, I'm running a microfinance bank, and it's the best in the country, yay! And he's like, you gotta do something bigger then. I mean, you don't stop there. Do something bigger. Play with the government, make regulation, do policies.
So this is a World Bank card from the World Bank. So tell us about this card. What does it mean?
So I'm a sucker for quotes. So it says, "Be so good they can't ignore you." So it's great. I've been very, very dedicated in this industry, and I guess as simple as Crystal Kennard had a session at iLab about personal branding.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So also Attila.
Yeah.
They went through, they analyzed my LinkedIn profile and this and that. It's like, oh, you gotta do something with this. You have something big, you have more than 500 network. You want to be seen, Tenny. Oh, okay. So after iLab, I fixed everything, put my CV online, this and that, and then I didn't apply for this job. I got literally offered.
So World Bank came to you?
Yes, World Bank came to me. I put my let's say tagline, microfinance as what was it again? He's my guy.
Microfinance expert and venture enthusiast, social advocate.
So he's my communication consultant.
So someone at the World Bank, someone at the World Bank goes into LinkedIn and goes, I need a microfinance expert in Indonesia. Microfinance expert. Tenny comes up.
Exactly. So it's great. So they actually gave me a call.
Yeah.
So what are you doing now? Oh, I'm just running my daily business, and like, will you be interested to be a consultant for our new program of Indonesian microfinance? It's a responsible finance program. Like, sure. Okay, can you send us your CV and we have an interview next week? Okay. So I showed up next week. You're accepted. Cool. You know, it was super easy.
So what this means is that you're not just running your own private company. You're actually now representing the World Bank on behalf of Indonesia because they're looking to create smarter regulations to support all the microfinance organizations.
Yes,
right?
yes. So this is a very rapidly growing industry.
Yeah.
And we learn, I mean, Indonesia as a nation, we learned that in other countries, as in India or in Mexico, in Nicaragua, there is a tendency that microfinance is becoming fragile.
Yeah.
It's rapidly growing. There are so many players in the market, so many players, and they are boosted by their desire to reach the portfolio target. So they just disperse loan irresponsibly. One person can have 3 to 4 different loans just for the sake that they want to reach a higher margin or this and that. And we don't want that to happen in Indonesia. I love that because here we are preventing instead of the after effects. So I am helping the World Bank along with the Central Bank and the Ministry of Cooperative to actually drafting the code of conduct, the charter, the articles that will be implemented for the whole Indonesian microfinance industry.
Let's give Tenny a round of applause for that. That's pretty awesome. Sometimes it's just about that one small change, right? But obviously, this has all come after many, many years of actually building the business. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just focus at 3 different waves and some questions around those waves, and then we're going to open this up for a Q&A. And the first wave is women entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And one thing that really amazed me, I guess it didn't really surprise me, but it did at the time, like the fact that it had gone so far amazed me, was what Muhammad Yunus, who I had a chance to meet up with, he set up the Grameen Bank.
Yeah.
What he told me when we were talking about Grameen Bank, and he was saying that when he looked to see who was actually the ones that were applying and actually paying back best on the loans, they were women.
Yeah.
And he said that in the normal finance markets, women in Bangladesh made up just 1% of the loans. Mm-hmm. He already had over 80%, which in Grameen Bank, and he decided to make it all women. I think even today it's only 97% are women because they just found them much more trustworthy, and that was their policy. And secondly, Kiva, which is like the biggest microfinancing platform, which allows people, anyone like you and me, to just go in and invest. 80% of the people who invest into Kiva to help people with microfinancing from all over the world are women. Yeah. And that again is because Kiva actually says this is something that actually supports women entrepreneurs. Is that the same in Indonesia, or is it quite different here?
I think I'm here to be Indonesian spokesperson that in microfinance, it's not like one size fits all. Mm-hmm. Of course, like every area has a different characteristic. So when it comes to this group women lending, that mostly happened in West Java.
Okay.
Yeah, I do research on that. West Java is mostly like that. In Central Java, because it's so much based on agriculture and so much based in this trading thing, because we are in the middle of the most populated island of Java. There are so many things going on from Jakarta there, Surabaya there. Trading is big. So I'm just saying that that the group lending for women as a Grameen model, yes, it exists, of course, in Indonesia, but not every microfinance institution applying that.
Do you do group lending in that way?
I used to.
Right.
I used to, but then we see that the male one, they need this working capital, and the because you always like study your market, right? So they cannot get access from the formal institution in terms of the commercial bank. That's where we step in.
Okay.
Yep.
The second question is about a wave which is the opposite direction, which is the big banks.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of talk around about how the bigger banks are dropping in their ability to be able to really be relevant in the world today. And it's the microfinancing banks or the rural banks which are actually growing.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that? What do you think it's going to look like 5 years from now?
Like, of course, there's a pro con in that. The pro is, of course, I'm happy. They have this full attention about this middle low segment, and there's also a requirement from the government for them to serve such market, the middle low. But they are not. I don't know if I allowed to say they're not the expert in the field because they are the employees are dropped from the big cities. They don't know the characters of the local people. All my employees, they're local people.
Right.
So the clients are the neighbors, their cousin. But the one from the bigger banks, they just drop off from Jakarta, from the bigger cities. So they don't even know what they're doing, I have to say. Yeah.
So you reckon in 5 years' time they're going to be less relevant or more?
No, but then there is a great collaboration. Also in the association of the Microfinance Bank of Indonesia.
Right.
So as a team, we went to the commercial banks. Their associates like, hey, you don't know how to do this. We know how to do this. Why don't we just collaborate? I know you need the portfolio in your balance sheet or everything. Give your money to us. We'll disperse it to the people that we know will repay back. And then it's a win-win solution.
So that's working?
That's called linkage program. I was one of the working group for that.
All right, got it. Okay. Okay, and then my third question, which is about entrepreneurship in Indonesia. There's a couple of things that have happened recently here. One of them is out of all the countries in the world that that Google has used to launch their Project Loon project, which is basically having Wi-Fi in balloons, is they picked Indonesia. And it's all launching this next year. And they said the reason they picked Indonesia is that because Indonesia has so many islands, that it is like so difficult for people to be able to get access everywhere. So balloons make the most sense to have the biggest difference, where they'll triple internet access in Indonesia. So that coupled with the likes of the three unicorns that we were talking about today, right? 3 unicorns in Indonesia. Traveloka, which is all the small, guys doing their travel companies. Gojek, which is all like individuals that can now go out there and use their scooters and make money from that. What was the third one again? Tokopedia, which is basically all small businesses that can make money as well. You're getting these platforms which are allowing, just like how Alibaba got all the merchants going to go global in China. All of these different entrepreneurial platforms that allow anyone to go out and start earning money. And a lot of people said Indonesia, as the 4th biggest country in the world, is not too far behind India in terms of being able to actually grow through tech companies. And that's a large part, as you know, that where we work. You see it on the ground from the point of view of those out in the rural areas as opposed to those going to the cities. Do you think that Indonesia in the next 10 years could end up becoming well known for its entrepreneurship, or do you think it's going to take longer?
10 years, you said.
Yeah, 10 years will take us to 2026.
Okay, so I love the fact that Indonesia has so many people. So that means it's a huge market. So that also means that we can be... This is my thing.
It's your fire energy. It's me? It's actually in my front. It's a bit weird.
Yeah, I'm pretty psyched with the fact that this whole Gojek, Tokopedia, and Traveloka thing, and it's great. It's great. Like the young people are getting into all these startups and everything. Even though I am still one of the Indonesian who is in iLab, I will gather more people, and I see a bright future there. I mean, not even that. I want to be part of it because right now my microfinance bank is just growing organically. Like the only way for me right now to grow is to open a new branch office and recruit more people. Oh, come on, that's so old school, right? I mean, especially you see that as an old school. So even I want to be part of this whole technology industry. One of the constraints, of course, the internet access. So with this Google have this balloony thing, it's awesome. So I would love to just like connect my company with just like app. So right now, my employee go door to door.
Right.
It's super expensive. The overhead cost is just massive. So what is the best way to cut that cost, right? So, and then I was skeptical whether the Indonesian people, especially the middle low, are they ready for this techie thing? Apparently Gojek is doing great. So, oh wow, they are ready. So I am developing a fintech company in terms of, so I want my clients, even up in the mountain, even up in the middle of the rice field. I'm like, oh, I need 5 million. Get his smartphone, and my employee will come to them just like to process more. So there is no more overhead cost. So if this industry can be developed from every single aspect, I would say less than 10 years. Because there's so many growing industry in Indonesia and it's just there. We just need investors, I think.
Yes, bringing both sides together.
Yeah,
Right?
bringing both sides together.
Let's open this up for questions. This could be a question about anything around Tenny's history or just anything he was sharing as well. So yeah, go for it. Oh, do we have a mic? We've got a microphone as well, so we're going to bring a microphone over. Trapped on around. Here we go.
Who are we going to first?
Going to-
Hello.
Hello.
When Roger first spoke to you, you were already in this microfinancing, right? Funding. What gave you the spark to start it in the first place? What's the seed?
The seat. Okay. I graduated from the top universities in Indonesia, and then I got scholarship in Harvard. I got scholarship in Italy, Germany, and this and that. I have options. I can work for multinational companies. I can work abroad. But then again, you don't want to just make an income. You also want to make an impact. And I think that's why I'm with the World Bank, because I want to contribute. So I think that's the seed of that. I think I want to contribute. It is my own country. I was born here, so I want to do something for this. And also, it is what I know. I remember today, it struck my heart when Roger showed the diagram fan with the hashtag win. And I was like, booyah, it's win. Because it's a great feeling when you know you're doing what you love, you know it pays well, and also you're good at it.
What were you studying? What did you, with a scholarship?
Yeah.
In Italy and in Harvard, what were you...
For the Italy one, it was in Torino. It's Boulder Institute of Microfinance.
Okay.
And for the Harvard Business School, it was Strategic Leadership for Microfinance. So I am on spot.
Right. So you were an expert even before you actually got back into... Were you already sure when you went to both of those you were going to come back to Indonesia? That was your plan, yeah? Awesome. All right. Thank you. Let's take another question.
Yeah. So Terry, what was the required infrastructure you had to start with this microfinancing, and when did you start it? Which year you started?
I've been in the industry for 13 years, so right after undergrad. And the regulation, it's super easy. Like the capital, you don't really need that much. The regulation changes over time. But then again, I think the hardest part, it's not about the infrastructure, it's not about the capital, it's about the people. Knowing the fact that I am operating in a small city, it is not easy to recruit people. And as I mentioned earlier, I don't want to recruit people coming from different cities.
Right.
So I just hired local people. That's the biggest concern. So I had to. They're like high school graduates. I mean, they don't. The people in that area, they don't even go to university.
Is there any microfinance degree or anything in Indonesia that people can take? Does that exist?
There's only like faculty of economy, so it's basically just a general.
It's just general.
thing.
So you have to go overseas if you want to get specialists.
Yeah.
What you said about what you're doing with the World Bank, which is the trust of the people who are taking the loans. Given that it's easy to actually get into microfinancing, and it's not, well, I mean, it is regulated obviously, but it's not at the same level as the national banks. Is that a challenge? Do you have people get into microfinancing that end up giving it a bad name?
Yes, but okay. Indonesian is pretty unique. We have a very diverse microfinance institution. We have the formal one, we have the semi-formal one, and we have the informal one. The formal one, no problem, because we are regulated by the central bank. We are regulated by the Ministry of Property. This informal one, these are the guys who give us the bad name.
Yeah.
It's the loan shark.
Yeah.
It's this and that. Like they charge like 30% a month.
Right.
That's too much. So this is part of the project with the World Bank, just to get rid of these bad people.
Right.
Just to give the responsible practice in the market itself, and just put an action to this, just eliminate these bad people.
Yeah.
So, but then again, of course, it's more the branding
Right.
and the more supervision by the regulators that actually gonna make this all right.
Right. Got it. Another question?
Do you need to have a license here in?
Oh yes, definitely. As I mentioned earlier, there's a formal one, semi-formal one, and then the informal one.
So what were your initial challenges in running this kind of microfinancing in Indonesia? And if you wanted to expand to, like, say, India or any other country, emerging country, what will be your suggestions?
That's the thing. Like, we talk a lot about exponential today, but then again, we as a microfinance bank, we only can operate in a region. If it's in the US, like a state, it's just one state. So I would say goodbye about me practicing in India. Even I cannot open a bank in Jakarta. So that's why
It would need to be something at the platform level, like a Kiva or something like that.
It should be a holding company with a different legal entity. So if I want to open my microfinance bank in 34 different states of Indonesia, I have to have 34 different companies.
Could you see, as time goes on and as digital currencies come in, could you see there being microfinancing through digital currencies?
I love the fact that the central bank are starting to opening their horizon regarding the fintech, because the fintech it's limitless.
Yeah.
It's limitless. It's not merely just all over Indonesia. You can probably operate in Malaysia or this, let's say Southeast Asia for a start. So on Monday and Tuesday, August 29 and 30th, there will be a national seminar and conference on fintech. If you're interested, it's in Jakarta. Yeah, I will be there and part of the speaker.
Very cool.
My another question was, what were your initial challenges?
The initial challenges I mentioned earlier regarding the recruitment of the people, and I think the second one is just microfinance. Microfinance institution has a message to send. It's the financial inclusion, which also includes financial literacy. These people, they have never saved in a bank before. They just put their extra money under the pillow or like hidden in the bamboo kind of thing. So that's also the thing that makes me, it's so heartwarming that you are teaching them about investment. You are teaching them about, hey, if you leverage your business, you will get more and it will grow in a sustainable.
That was one of the things.
So it's financial literacy, I would say.
That's one thing Muhammad Yunus was saying, was that because they were educating the women on financial literacy, at that time, 10 years in, 3/4 of all of the people, all the women on the Green Bank books were net depositors. They actually, even though there's microfinancing, they actually had more money in the bank than out of the bank, so that they weren't even taking the loans because they just built up their wealth
Yeah.
and then deposit it as well.
Yeah, because that's also part of the objective. It's to better off their quality of life. It's to let them know what investment is about, that your money can actually make money.
Yeah.
They're not familiar with that in the first place. So it is one of our tasks. It's like, you have money. If you put it under your pillow, it stays the same. If you put it in us, it will grow. And yes, you have money. You can use that for your working capital. But if you borrow a loan, it's a leverage. It's so beautiful just to teach them all these things. One of the awards we got, speaking of awards, I have a long list of awards. Yeah, one of the awards that Microfinance Bank got is the Financial Inclusion Award from the Central Bank,
Right.
because we are having a huge program for our customers and potential customers, because like when they are already customers, they are in your hand already, but the question is like how to get those who are not with us. So we actually drafted a whole program about financial inclusion. We made all different marketing materials in the super local language. These people don't even speak Bahasa Indonesia. You will not know what they're saying. So all our materials for marketing, it's not the brochure. It's not just writing. It's like a comic.
Right.
So then like they can actually see the picture if they cannot read.
Right.
So yeah,
Right.
it's
Right.
great.
Yeah.
All right, so if someone comes to apply to you for a microfinance loan, how do you determine whether they're a suitable candidate?
Okay.
So, I mean, do you have like a set of parameters? Or do you have a set of parameters which you go through? I mean, I'm assuming not everyone is maybe suitable or would qualify, let's say, for a microfinance loan. How do you determine who to give it to and who not to?
Of course, we do have we call it the credit analysis system. Yes, we do have that. So when they are applying for a loan, we do have our employees come to that. We have the 5C, the collateral, the capacity, the characters, all these requirements, and they have to comply to all that. And then they have to sign the clause. It's okay. Let's just put it like this: Microfinance bank, it's similarly the same as commercial banks or banks you're dealing with. The difference is that it's way simpler and for middle low segment. It's basically the same. When it comes to loan disbursement, proper analysis, because we are also supervised by the central bank, and they want that to happen. So it happens that we actually reject loans because the person
Is it a high percentage or?
No. But then again, the literacy, the financial literacy work there. When we know that a person is not suitable, we'll let them know why they're not applicable in that, and we teach them, this is what you should do, and then in the end, they will be our customer.
Right. All right.
May I know what's your annual turnover? May I know what is your annual turnover and what's your next step for the expansion of this microfinancing?
Are we talking financial ratios here? So our return on equity is 40%, and return on asset is 5.8%. The growth year on year is 28%. So I think it's really growing.
Right. How are you going to expand actually this business now?
We have these principles that, let's say our office is in this right here. We never opened offices like jump there or jump there. It's always like when you have a tissue and you drop a water, it's always like that. So our offices are working like that. If you see along the years, it is not massively like, all over Central Java covered. No, it's not like that. We grow very, very sustainably. And I love that. And it's also part of the word of mouth. And right now, at the moment, we have 82 offices all over.
82. And so you're going to keep on growing those, or that's one pathway, but obviously the whole
That's the
fintech
organically.
side.
That's the organically. And the unorganically, we would like to even broader.
Yeah.
Is your company listed?
No, it's not. It's not. It's still private. When the fintech is happening, it will be something like that because I want to put them in the holding thing. So when it's and then the investor coming in with more money to be dispersed.
Okay. Final question. Yes.
You've grazed on this a little bit, but what impact do you see blockchain technology having on the microfinance industry, and is that a key piece of what you're looking at with your fintech?
The impact of the fintech.
of blockchain technology in specific.
What is blockchain?
Blockchain.
Oh, blockchain.
We talked about blockchain today.
We
Yeah,
talk about blockchain. Oh, actually, I'm not familiar with that.
it's very new. I mean,
Yeah,
it's very
yeah.
new, but there's definitely a lot of the banks in, well, all around the world. I'm not sure how much it is in microfinancing as well at the moment, but it's actually very new. But it is that whole element by which everything, whether it's someone's bank account, you have the whole track all the way through of all the transactions, so it's easy to track. But money itself also has a track. I mean, blockchain comes from Bitcoin, which actually means every Bitcoin has a digital track of everywhere it's been and who's got it connected to, and ownership is a really large part of it. So which means all that paperwork or your guy going in and having to meet up with that person can disappear because you can actually track the whole thing just digitally.
Thank you for giving me homework.
Yeah, but it's definitely worth looking at, because I think Indonesia, there's been a huge shift that's happened. This massive explosion in microfinancing in India, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that India fairly recently went through this entire digitization of its ID system, which means that everyone now has got very, very clear digital footprints in everything they do, and it makes it much easier to know you're not going to have any corruption through the government or through local levels. It's much easier for someone to actually know that they've got their identity secure. And so when it comes to actually taking loans or anything like that, it's easier there as well. So microfinancing is seeing this boom in India right now. And I can imagine with things like blockchain, the same will happen for sure in Indonesia too.
What's the update on the blockchain in Indonesia? This is me interviewing Roger though.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
So are you involved in that area, Rock? Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. That'll be awesome. But that's it's very exciting because it is all about having an identity and knowing that for someone who actually says, "Oh, I'm good for it," and I've actually, I can be trusted. Blockchain basically is the trust currency of the internet, which is very exciting.
The fintech, the what I know about the fintech in Indonesia, it just the latest one is just the peer-to-peer.
Well, fintech's now across the entire spectrum, and to be honest, if you take a place like Africa, the biggest banks really are the mobile companies now, right?
Yeah,
because
like
everyone is just using their mobile credits to actually transact. So the extent to which you go down that route as well, the more that everyone's on Wi-Fi, the better for sure. So it's exciting times. But I think what's really amazing, and I don't think everyone here has yet had a chance to see the enormity of it because we haven't talked at numbers, is the fact that you've been voted, how many years is it now? 5 years?
7.
7 years as the #1 microfinancing bank in Indonesia. And if you said, well, how many microfinancing banks are there, like rural banks?
There are 1,634.
So you're first out of 1,634
Yeah.
every year. Can we give a round of applause? That's massive. So I would love to finish with a question, and obviously after this we're going to continue with drinks and chatting, and obviously Tenny's going to be here to chat as well. But my big question is, given that you keep on winning, you're clearly doing something right. What would you say is the biggest thing you're doing different from all the other microfinancing companies, which is enabling you to keep winning every year?
I think I have to say, all the great bankers, they are playing in the commercial banks. So I have to say, those left over one playing in the microfinance bank. So I am actually doing this big fish in a small pond kind of thing. Because I can see myself, if I enter the commercial bank industry, I'd probably be nobody.
Oh, but even in the 1,600 microfinancing banks, you're #1. So what is it against those guys that you're doing?
I have to say, first, we know what we're doing in terms of like we always updated with what is happening internationally. I happen to be having a very international networks. That's one of the advantage, because these 1,000 microfinance banks, they are in the small cities of, let's say, Sumba or in Sulawesi somewhere. So of course the information given to them, they're not very aware of. They're just doing what they're doing. So I hate to say this, but they're in the box. So that's why, knowing the fact that I have the capability to be outside the box, I joined the Association of the Microfinance Banks, in the National Board Committee, so that every single information that I get from all over the world, I make sure it's put there,
Right.
and then it's dispersed to everywhere. And regarding the fintech thing, I have two business models. One is to be selfish, is to make my company bigger, and the other one is just to bring the industry bigger. Like it's like, you know how when it comes to Gojek, as a customer, you find your Gojek driver and they come to you. I want an app that if I happen in this zone, if I want to apply for 10 million loan, it will list all the microfinance bank in the area. So it's me being not selfish. So I want the industry to grow bigger as well.
Yeah.
So contribution again.
That's very awesome. That's very awesome. Well, like just ending on that, and just the whole idea that, like, the fact that you traveled all the way around the world to come right back, and that whole thing we talk about, which is think global but act local, which is exactly what you've done, which is really the reason that you're able to compete with all these other local companies, but at a world-class level. And I think that's a really, really great example for all of us in our business, whatever it is and wherever we are as well. So can we please give Tenny Canniff a big round of applause for sharing. And I'd like to just add something both to you and also for everyone here who's experiencing this beach club for the first time. This is the Entrepreneur Beach Club, which we have designed as a vision to allow anyone who is looking for a co-working space on the beach with 30 gigabits per second internet and a community to connect up with, and to be able to work on the beach as opposed to in another co-working space in the city somewhere, that this is something that can multiply all around the world. And one of the big areas that we really want to focus at is that it really is community, which means it's linked to the idea of supporting the local entrepreneurs in each area as well. So we haven't officially opened here yet. We will be doing that in the next month or two. But what we want to do is just at least get that word out that in the future, the idea of a place like our beach club to be also set up for something like microfinancing, which allows people who come here to actually know they can either put money in to support local entrepreneurs, or for the local entrepreneurs to come and not just find a way to get support, but actually to get mentorship as well, is going to actually make both sides benefit from all of us here who want to go out there and make a global difference as well. So with that being said, just to know a little bit that we've actually see this as being definitely number one of the beach clubs that actually start around the world, and come back as often as you can. I wanted to just finish by bringing someone else up here who is going to say a few words, and that is our General Manager of Entrepreneur Resorts, Simone Holt, who actually put all this together. So can we give Simone a round of applause? Thank you, Simone. Awesome job. And you have something there that you would like to make an announcement about.
Yes. So I'll be quick. Thanks everyone for coming, and I hope you enjoyed tonight and our first Startup Grind event and Indonesian representative. It's been an awesome night and pleasure to have you all here. But I just wanted to acknowledge a couple of people. Malcolm, you're one. So Malcolm worked with us on bringing this place to fruition. He was here day in, day out, and I think the outcome of this building and the energy in the space is just phenomenal, and that's a lot because of what Malcolm's done. So I've got a little present there. Come up, Malcolm.
Come on up, Malcolm. Oh, let's grab a photo. Let's grab a photo here. Our first event here at.
Yeah, so thank you. Really appreciate all the work you did. Amazing job. And one other person was Cynthia, Chef Cynthia Louise. So she brings a lot of heart and soul to this place here with her amazing food and her mentorship of our kitchen staff and all our staff. So I just wanted to thank you for doing everything you're doing. It's amazing. And I think you want to say a few words, because she loves to be up here.
Who's still hungry? Because we have heaps of food in there. We have the most beautiful salads. We've got a fridge full of cakes, all gluten-free, dairy-free, like really serving your organs. We have so much stuff on the menu. So have a look at it and place your order.
Thank you.
Photo. Let's take a photo of all of us here. All right.